I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 5 years now. We seemed solid, the kind of couple everyone around us thought was perfect. We had the usual ups and downs, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then came the death of my grandfather, a man I was very close to. It was supposed to be a somber, respectful weekend. Family, tears, remembering his life. But that's when everything started to unravel, at least for me. The days leading up to the funeral, Lisa was acting weird. She was distant, distracted, and I noticed she was lying about where she was going after work. Tell me she was staying late at the office, working on a project or catching up on some reports. She'd send me texts, but they felt off. Short, hurried, like she was hiding something. I wasn't one to jump to conclusions, but I'd catch her sneaking glances at her phone, deleting texts quickly if I walked into the room. It was subtle, but enough to make me suspicious. On the day of the funeral, I was already feeling overwhelmed with grief, trying to hold back tears while greeting relatives and old friends. Lisa kept saying she'd meet us there, but she was late. When she finally arrived, she looked different. Not just tired, but like she'd been crying. Her makeup was smudged, and she kept avoiding eye contact with me. I remember thinking that was strange, but I brushed it off, telling myself she was probably upset about my grandfather. It wasn't until after the funeral, after everyone had gone home, that I started to piece things together. I stayed behind to help clean up, and I decided to go check the security footage from the hotel where Lisa had told me she'd been working late. I'd always felt uneasy about her excuses, but I didn't have concrete proof. I just wanted to know the truth. When I pulled up the footage, my stomach dropped. There they were, Lisa and her boss, Jason, leaving the hotel together just an hour after she had said goodnight at work. They looked too cozy, laughing, whispering, touching. The kind of intimacy that's not just professional. That moment hit me like a punch in the gut. I stared at the screen, watching Lisa's face light up in a way I'd never seen before, like she was finally getting away with something. I couldn't believe it. She lied about staying late, about working on that big project, all so she could meet Jason, her boss, for sex, probably. I felt numb, furious, betrayed all at once. How could she do this to me, to us? I was supposed to trust her, supposed to believe she was faithful, but instead I found out she'd been sneaking around behind my back, sneaking out of the hotel for sex with her boss, right under my nose. And that's just the beginning. I've got so much more to tell about what happened next, how I confronted her, what she said, and how I'm trying to deal with this mess. But that's for another time. Right now, I'm just trying to breathe and process everything. When I first saw the footage, I couldn't move for a second. My mind went blank, then flooded with rage and hurt so deep I thought I'd drown. I replayed that moment over and over in my head, trying to convince myself I was wrong. But there it was, clear as day. Lisa, my wife, in the arms of her boss, Jason, leaving that hotel right after she told me she was working late. How long had this been going on? Weeks? Months? God, I don't even know. All I knew was that I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, and then the floor dropped out from under me. I stayed up all night, staring at the screen, trying to piece together what this meant. My mind kept going back to all the times she'd lied about her whereabouts, the subtle changes in her behavior, the way she'd brush me off or get defensive when I asked about work stuff. I felt stupid now, like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. But at the same time, I was furious at her, at Jason, at myself for not catching on earlier. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a decision. I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I needed answers, and I needed to hear her lie to my face. I didn't want to believe she could do this, cheat on me during the funeral of my grandfather, no less, a man I loved dearly. It felt like a punch to the chest every time I thought about how she threw away the respect and trust we had built. And the worst part, her attitude. The way she always played the victim, the way she lied with that bitchy little smirk, dismissing my concerns as if I was overreacting. So I waited until I was calm enough, then called her at work. She answered with that usual annoyed tone, like she was bothered I was bothering her about some stupid thing. I told her I needed to talk. Her voice immediately got defensive, acting like I was the one blowing things out of proportion. "Mike, what now? I told you I was working late, you're overthinking again." That's when I lost it. I told her I knew she'd been lying, that I saw her leaving the hotel with Jason, and I was done pretending I didn't know the truth. Her reaction was classic Lisa, bitchy, defensive, full of bullshit excuses. "You're crazy. You're just paranoid. Maybe I went out for a drink with some colleagues, but I definitely didn't cheat on you. You're making a huge deal out of nothing." But I was buying it. Her tone was shrill, her voice dripping with contempt, like I was the one who was wrong for even daring to doubt her. That's when I decided I'd had enough. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore and that I was coming home to talk face to face. When I walked through the door that evening, she was waiting for me, trying to act innocent, like she'd done nothing wrong. But I had the footage on my phone, and I made damn sure she saw it. Her face twisted into that nasty smirk, trying to deny everything, saying I was jealous, insecure, imagining things. But I was. I'd seen her with my own eyes, and I knew she'd been lying to me for weeks. The confrontation was a nightmare. She yelled, called me crazy, said I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything over some stupid suspicion. But I wasn't stupid. I was just heartbroken. I never thought she'd cheat on me, especially not during one of the worst days of my life. It felt like she didn't even care about my feelings, about the pain she inflicted on me. All she cared about was saving her ass, keeping her affair hidden. That's where I am now, sitting here trying to make sense of it all. Part of me still can't believe it's real. I keep flashing back to that footage, to her sneering denial, and I wonder if I'll ever get that trust back. Honestly, I don't think I will, and the worst part, I don't even know what to do next. Do I try to forgive her? Do I throw everything away? I feel lost, betrayed, and so damn angry. I just wish I knew how to fix this, or if I even should. After the big showdown, I didn't sleep much that night. My mind kept circling back to everything I'd seen, everything she denied, the way she looked at me like I was crazy for even bringing it up. Lisa was furious, of course. She called me paranoid, insecure, a complete psycho. Said I was overreacting because I couldn't handle her success at work or some bullshit like that. But I wasn't buying her lies anymore. I knew what I saw, and I knew she'd been lying to my face for weeks about where she was, what she was doing. The thing is, I love her, or I did. Maybe I still do, a part of me stubbornly holding onto that hope that maybe somehow I screwed up or misunderstood. But deep down I knew. The woman I married, the woman I trusted with everything, had turned into someone else, someone selfish and manipulative. The Lisa I knew would never have cheated on me during my grandfather's funeral, that's for sure. That day, I felt like my entire world had shattered into pieces. I couldn't even look at her without feeling this mixture of rage and heartbreak. I started to think about what I should do. My first instinct was to kick her out, to end it all right then. But part of me hesitated, wondering if there was any way to salvage what we had. I kept asking myself if she really loved me or if she just didn't care anymore. The truth is, I wanted to believe she'd come clean, own her mistakes, and maybe we could work through it. But her reaction, her sneering, dismissive attitude, made me realize that wasn't going to happen. She wasn't sorry, she was just angry that I found out. That led me to plan my next move. I couldn't just storm out or throw her out without any plan. I needed proof, something concrete, so I decided to dig deeper. I started checking her phone, her emails, even her bank accounts. I wanted to see if she'd slipped up again, if there were more secrets hiding somewhere. Honestly, I was falling apart, trying to piece together how I'd been so blind, how I'd missed all the signs. It's like I'd been living in a bubble, convinced she was faithful, but the bubble burst in the worst way possible. During all this, she kept trying to spin her story. Said I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat, that I was paranoid because I didn't trust her. She called me insecure, jealous, and said I was just jealous of her success, or that I was imagining things because I couldn't handle her working late. She played the victim so well, acting like I was the villain. She even had the nerve to suggest I was controlling, that I shouldn't be so suspicious. That was the moment I knew she wasn't going to admit anything voluntarily. She was going to keep lying, keep defending herself until she could find a way to spin it all in her favor. Meanwhile, I was spiraling. I felt humiliated, broken, like I'd been punched in the gut one too many times. I kept asking myself if I had missed the signs or if I was just an idiot for trusting her so blindly. The worst part, I still loved her, at least the version of her I thought I knew. But seeing her with Jason, the way she looked at him, like he was her whole universe, made me realize that love was dead, or at least on life support. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine anymore. I had to decide what to do, and fast. And the thing is, I don't even know if I want to stay and fix this or just walk away. Every time I think about her lying, sneaking around, cheating during what was supposed to be one of the worst days of my life, I get sick. I trusted her with everything. Now I can't even look at her without feeling this intense betrayal. I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads with no clear path ahead. Do I fight for us? Do I try to forgive and forget? Or do I just cut my losses and walk away? Honestly, I don't have the answer yet. All I know is that I'm hurt, and I feel more alone than I ever have. In the days that followed, I couldn't focus on anything else. Every minute was a battle between wanting to confront her again and just shutting down completely. I kept replaying the footage in my head, the way Lisa had smiled at Jason, the way she'd lied to me about staying late. It's like my mind was trying to make sense of a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I started checking her phone more obsessively, scrolling through texts, emails, anything that might give me more clues. I even went through her social media, looking for signs, suspicious messages, anything out of the ordinary. It was during one of these late-night sessions that I found something that made my stomach turn. A message exchange between her and Jason, a few days before the funeral. It was vague at first, just some flirtatious jokes, but then things got more explicit. They were talking about seeing each other again, keeping it secret, and there was even a mention of a hotel date. I felt like I'd been punched again, this time more painfully. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a one-time thing. It had been going on for longer than I thought. I was furious. The kind of furious that burns through your chest and makes you want to scream. But I also felt empty, like all the trust I'd had in her had been drained out. I was stuck in a whirl of emotions, anger, sadness, betrayal. Part of me wanted to confront her again right then, to demand answers, to yell at her how she could do this during my grandfather's funeral of all times. But another part knew that wouldn't solve anything. She'd just lie, deny, or turn it around on me, playing the victim like she always did. So I decided I needed a plan. I couldn't just go in guns blazing without evidence. I wanted her to see I knew the truth, that I wasn't some naive fool anymore. That's when I set up a hidden recorder in the house. I knew she'd be defensive, maybe even volatile. I wanted to catch her in the act, or at least hear what she'd say when she thought I wasn't listening. That night I waited in the living room, heart pounding, and sure enough, she came home late, probably from her so-called work meeting. I pretended to be asleep, but I had the recorder ready. What I heard was worse than I expected. She was on the phone, whispering, secretive. I couldn't hear everything clearly, but I caught snippets. "It's just a quickie," she said. "He's not home yet. I'll be there in 15." My blood ran cold. She was planning to meet Jason again, probably for sex. The tone of her voice was sneering, like she didn't even care. It was like she was justifying her actions, convincing herself she was entitled to some secret thrill. That was the moment I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I had enough evidence to blow this whole thing up. The next day, I sat her down again, this time with the recordings on my phone, ready to play. Her eyes widened when she saw I wasn't joking, that I had proof. She swore, cried, begged me to believe her, said it was just a mistake, that she loved me, that she never meant to hurt me, but I wasn't buying it. The tears, the lies, they all seemed hollow now. I looked her in the eyes and told her I'd had enough. I told her I saw her leaving that hotel with Jason, I knew about the texts, and I wasn't going to pretend everything was okay anymore. Her reaction was pure chaos. She screamed at me, called me controlling, insecure, a pathetic loser who couldn't handle her success. She said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things because I was afraid of losing her. She told me I was the one who was ruining everything, that she deserved to be happy too, even if that happiness came from Jason. That moment, I realized she didn't care about me, about us. All she cared about was her secret life, her affair, her escape from the dull, boring marriage she claimed she was so fed up with. I felt like I'd been hit in the gut again. Betrayal, humiliation, anger, everything hit me at once. I told her to leave. I told her I didn't want to see her face again until she decided what she really wanted. I didn't sleep that night. I was too busy feeling every possible emotion at once. Did I want to divorce her? Did I want to try to fix this? Honestly, I was so lost I couldn't think straight. All I knew is that my trust was shattered and I'd never look at her the same way again. The woman I married had become a stranger, someone capable of sneaking around during the funeral of my grandfather, lying, cheating, manipulating. I don't even recognize her anymore, and that realization haunts me. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and pain. I kept replaying everything, her sneering denial, the recordings, the texts I found. Honestly, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. Every time I thought about her with Jason, I'd get this sick feeling in my stomach. It was like I'd been punched repeatedly, and I didn't see an end to the pain. I started questioning everything about our relationship, about who she was really versus who I thought she was. I decided I needed space. I moved to stay at my brother's place for a few days, trying to clear my head, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. The thing is, I still loved her, or at least part of me did, but love wasn't enough to fix what she'd broken. Every time I pictured her with Jason, I felt this deep primal anger mixed with despair. How could she do this? Why during my grandfather's funeral? It was like she waited for the most vulnerable moment to betray me. Meanwhile, she tried to reach out, of course. First, with apologies, then with angry messages accusing me of spying and blowing things out of proportion. She kept insisting it was a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that she was sorry and that she loved me. But all her words felt empty now. I wondered if she even understood what she'd done, or if she just thought I'd forgive her because she threw in some tears and a sob story. One day, I finally sat down and thought hard about what I was going to do. I realized that staying with her, pretending everything was okay, was not an option anymore. Not after everything I'd seen and heard. I couldn't build a marriage on lies and deception. I wasn't the kind of guy who could ignore something so huge. I thought about the future, what it would look like if I stayed, if I tried to forgive her, or if I just walked away. The truth is, I didn't want to be the guy who just accepts betrayal, but I also didn't want to make a rash decision out of anger. I decided I needed closure, something definitive. So I scheduled a serious talk with her. No more hiding, no more pretending. I wanted honesty. I wanted her to own her actions, her lies, and tell me why she did it. I didn't expect her to admit everything right away, but I needed to hear her say it, say she was sorry, or at least tell me her side of the story. Because right now I felt like I was just floating in this terrible limbo, not knowing if I should fight to save what's left or just walk away and forget it all. That evening she came over. Her face was pale, eyes red from crying. She begged me for another chance, said she was confused, that she didn't want to lose everything. She told me she'd been feeling trapped, stressed at work, and that Jason made her feel alive again. She claimed she never meant to hurt me, just that she was weak, and she'd let her emotions get the better of her. I listened to her, but inside I was just boiling. I wanted to scream, to shake her, and ask how she could be so selfish, so ruthless. I told her I needed time to think. I told her I couldn't just forgive her overnight. I said I'd consider everything, but I wasn't making any promises. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk, like she thought she could manipulate her way out of this. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw her for what she was, someone who's good at lying, someone who's willing to ruin everything for her own fleeting pleasure. That night, I slept with my phone ready, just in case she tried to call again. I felt numb, betrayed, exhausted. Being with her now felt like walking on broken glass. I kept wondering if she even cared about me anymore. The woman I loved had turned into someone I barely recognized. I knew I had to decide soon whether to fight for us or to let her go. Honestly, I was so torn, so hurt, I didn't know what was right anymore. All I knew was that my world had been turned upside down and I was just trying to survive it. Over the next few days, I stayed in a state of limbo. Every time I thought about her, about Jason, about everything she'd done, I felt this terrible mix of anger and sadness. I couldn't even look at her without feeling my stomach churn. I kept replaying the footage, the texts, her voice on the recordings, and I realized that trust, that fragile ingredient that once held us together, was completely shattered. I couldn't see how it could ever be repaired after something this deep. I made the decision to confront her one last time. Not because I thought I could change her or because I wanted to hear more lies, but because I needed closure. I needed to tell her how much she'd hurt me, how betrayed I felt, and to finally get it all out in the open. So I called her, told her I wanted to meet, and she agreed. When she showed up, her face was exhausted, and I could see she knew I was done pretending. We sat in silence for a long moment, then I told her exactly how I felt. I told her I found the footage, the texts, everything. I told her I knew about her meetings, her lies, her cheating during what should have been one of the saddest, most respectful days of my life. I told her I couldn't look at her anymore without feeling sick, that I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach over and over again. I said I didn't think I could ever trust her again and that it was time for us to go our separate ways. She tried to defend herself, of course. Said she loved me, that she was sorry, that she was weak, that she never wanted to hurt me. But I saw through it. Her words didn't mean anything to me anymore. I told her I deserved better than to be lied to, cheated on, and mocked during my grandfather's funeral. I told her she made her choice, and I couldn't be with someone who disrespected me so fundamentally. She broke down then, sobbing and begging, claiming she'd do anything to fix it, that she'd go to counseling, that she'd change. But I realized I was already past that point. Love and forgiveness aren't enough when the betrayal is this deep. I told her I was done, that I wanted her out of my life, and I meant it. I packed my things that night, moving to stay with a friend, trying to find some peace amid the chaos. Now, looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is sacred, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. I also learned that some people, maybe even most, are capable of hiding their true selves very well. Lisa betrayed me in the worst possible way, and honestly, I don't think I'll ever fully recover from it. But I also learned that I have to prioritize myself, my feelings, and my integrity. So if there's any advice I can give, it's this: pay attention to the signs. Don't ignore that gut feeling when something feels off. If someone lies to you once, they'll probably do it again, especially if they're hiding something big. Trust is built slowly, but it can be destroyed in an instant. And when you're betrayed like this, don't be afraid to walk away. Sometimes the only way to heal is to cut out what's toxic and move forward. This experience has been brutal, no doubt about it. But it's also shown me who I am, someone who's willing to face the truth, no matter how ugly, and who refuses to be a victim of lies anymore. I have a long road ahead, but I'm finally beginning to understand that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and reclaiming your own life.